Hi students, how are you doing? I hope you are doing well. Last time we started to discuss about Unit 2 that talks about further on working with variable. In that case, we discuss how to multiply binomials, monomials, and different kinds of terms. So today we will go to revising Unit 3. So in this case, we saw about linear equation and inequality. In the case of linear equation and inequality, first we saw how to solve a linear equation. In the case of solving linear equation, first let's see solution of linear equation involving bracket. That means an equation with brackets. So to solve this kind of equations, we use different kinds of mechanism. The first thing is removing the bracket. So to solve this, to remove this bracket, we have rational number a, b, c, and d. Take any rational number that is a and b and c. So in the first one, a plus b plus c is equal to a plus b plus c. That means this a is multiplied by 1 times b, 1 times c, c. And also the second one, a minus b plus c. This minus multiply both b and c, then this minus distributed into b and c. Therefore, minus a minus times b minus times c minus c. The third one is, this is a distributive property. That means this a multiply both b and c. That means a times b, ab, plus this a times c, ac. Students, we discussed about this in chapter 2. That means a distributive property of multiplication on addition. The last one is, this is a distributive property of multiplication on subtraction. That means a times b, ab, a times c, ac. So this helps us to remove the bracket. As you see here, after the equality sign, before the equality sign there is a bracket, but after the equality sign there is no a bracket sign. That means we remove the bracket using this property. So let's see the first example using that property. The example, it says solve 4 times x minus 1 plus 3 times x plus 2 is equal to 5 times x minus 4. So as we discussed before, we remove first the bracket. So to remove the bracket, let's use a distributive property. That means these 4 multiply both x and 1, and these 3 multiply both x and 2, and these 5 multiply both x and 4. So in the case of multiplying 4 times x, 4x, 4 times 1, 4, plus 3 times x, 3x, plus 3 times 2, 6, which is equal to 5 times x, 5x, and 5 times 4 is 20. That means we call it removing of the bracket. That means after using distributive property, we already remove the brackets. The next step is collecting like terms. That means the like terms here, 4x and 3x and 5x. We take before the equality sign the variable here before the equality sign. After the equality sign, we take the constant numbers. That means 4x plus 3x, 7x, 7x minus 5x is 2x, and minus 20 plus 4 minus 6 is equal to minus 22. So to simplify this, 2x is equal to minus 22. We divide both sides by 2. That means we divide by both sides by 2. That means 2 cancel by 2. Then we have x is equal to by 2, 1, by 2, 11. Therefore, the value of x is equal to exactly negative 11. So this is using this distributive property and removing of bracket, we solve this equation. The next thing is the solution of linear equation involving brackets. So in the case of an equation involving bracket, first let us see about how to add subtract, multiply, and dividing fraction. So the first one is adding and subtracting fraction. In the case of adding and subtracting fraction, we have two cases. The first one is fraction with the same denominator. That means if the fraction have the same denominator, it has its own property. The second one is the fraction with different denominator. It has its own property. Therefore, the first one, in the case of fraction with the same denominator, as you see here, a over b plus or minus. If it is plus, plus. If it is minus, you can use the minus sign. Therefore, a over b plus or minus c over b. We have the same denominator. That denominator b have to be different from 0, because number cannot be divided by 0. Therefore, we, in the case of this, take one of the denominator because they are the same. Therefore, taking one of the denominator, then adding simply the numerator. Therefore, a plus c. If it is plus, a plus c. If it is minus, a minus c. Therefore, if it is the same denominator, it's so simple to add two kinds of fraction. In the case of the fraction is different denominator, the first is, here is a plus b plus or minus c over d. That means, as I told you before, if it is plus, plus. If it is minus, minus. Therefore, here, as you see here, here is b, here is d, because they have different denominator. If they have different denominator, we take the product of the denominator. You can use other method. That means you can take the common multiple number of b and d, but it's a little bit easy to solve this way. Therefore, take the product of b times d. Then you can multiply a by d and b by c, crisscross. That means take the product of b times d, then the crisscross a times d, ad, plus or minus b times c, b, c, where this b and d have to be different from 0, because the denominator have to be always different from 0. So using this method, the second thing is multiplying and dividing fraction. The first one is multiplying fraction and the next one is dividing fraction. In the case of multiplying and dividing fraction, you don't have to check the denominator is either the same or different. It's not problem. Therefore, the first one, in the case of multiplying fraction, let's take a over b times c over d. They have different denominator, but in the case of solving the fraction with the different denominator, simply multiply numerator by the numerator and denominator by the denominator. But b and d have to be different from 0. As I told you before, denominator always different from 0. Therefore, a over b times c over d, then the value will be a times c, ac, b times d, b, d. Simply, in the case of multiplication of fraction, simply numerator is multiplied by numerator and denominator is multiplied by the denominator. The next thing is dividing fraction. In the case of dividing fraction here, a over b divided by c over d. In the case of this, we change this expression into the multiplication form. That means we take the reciprocal of the second fraction. Reciprocal of the second fraction. That means a over b divided by c over d is changed into d over c. In the case of changing d over c, this sign of division is changed into multiplication. That means a over b times the reciprocal of c over d is d over c. Then the sign of division is changed into multiplication. In the case of this, in the case of multiplication of fraction, as we discussed before, simply multiplying numerator by numerator and denominator by the denominator. Therefore, in the case of this, simply multiply numerator by numerator and denominator by the denominator. Therefore, a times d, ad, and b times c, bc. The final solution of dividing a fraction is changing into multiplication. Then after changing to multiplication, simply you can multiply the fraction. So students, using this property, let's see the first example. The example says solve x plus 1 over 3 plus x minus 1 over 10 is equal to 12. Before I'm going to do this example, try it for 1 minute. Okay, students, I hope you tried good. Let's do it together. So, solving in this case, x plus 1 over 3 plus x minus 1 over 10 is equal to 12. Here is, we have a different denominator. Therefore, take the product of the denominator. That means 3 times 10, 30, and we take the crisscross production. Therefore, the product of 3 times 10, 30, and x plus 1 multiplied by 10 plus, the sign is plus, and these 3 multiply x minus 1 is equal to 12. Now, let's multiply 10 times x plus 1. These 10 multiply both x and 1, and also these 3 multiply both x and 1. Now, 10 times x, 10x, 10 times 1, 10, plus 3 times x, 3x, minus 3 times 1, 3, over 30 is equal to 12. Let's collect the like terms. In the case of collecting like terms, 10x plus 3x is equal to 13x, plus 10 minus 3 is equal to 7, over 30 is equal to 12. Now, let's multiply it over 1, then crisscross it. That means 1 times 3, 13x plus 1, 13x plus 7 is equal to 30 times 12. So, 30x is equal to 30 times 12, that is 360. After the equality sign, it changed from positive to negative. Therefore, 360 minus 7. Now, 13x is equal to 360 minus 7 is equal to 353. Now, to get in x, divided by both sides by 13. In the case of dividing both sides by 13, 1 by 13, 1. Then simply we have x. Now, x is equal to 353 over 13. Therefore, the value of the final solution of x plus 1 over 3 plus x minus 1 over 10 is equal to 12 is x is equal to 353 over 13. Good. Let's go to the next concept, that is further on linear inequality. In the case of inequality, we have the same step with the equation, but it has 3 differences between equation and inequality. In the case of inequality, we have different sign. That means less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and different from. We have 5 different signs in the case of inequality, but in the case of equality, we have only equality sign. Therefore, in the case of equality, this is one difference. The second difference, in the case of equality, we have exactly one solution. In the case of equality, we have exactly one solution. But in the case of inequality, we have a solution set. For instance, if you have the answer is a number which is greater than 1. Therefore, a number which is greater than 1 is a lot of number which is greater than 1. Therefore, it is a solution set. The last one, or the difference, is in the case of inequality, if you multiply by negative number or if you divide by negative number, the sign will be changed into, if it is less than, it changes into greater than, and if it is less than or equal to, it changes into greater than or equal to. So as after we discuss on this difference, let's see the example. The example, it says solve negative x plus 8 is less than or equal to 22. So let's solve with this solution. The solution is minus x is less than or equal to 22 minus 8. Now minus 3x is less than or equal to 22 minus 8, that is 14. Now minus 3x less than or equal to 14. Now let's divide by both sides by negative 3. So if we divide by both sides by negative 3, this negative 3 is cancelled by negative 3. As I told you before, if you multiply or dividing by negative number, the sign will be changed. So as you see here, if you multiply, we divide by negative number, therefore x is the sign of less than or equal to change it into greater than or equal to, because we divide both sides by the negative number. Therefore x is greater than or equal to negative 14 over 3. This is the final solution of minus 3x plus 8 is less than or equal to 22. So a number which is greater than negative 14 over 3 is the true solution of this inequality. Now this is all about equality and inequality. The next thing is the Cartesian coordinate system. Okay, students, when you come to discussing on the Cartesian coordinate system, in the case of Cartesian coordinate system, let's discuss first about the 4 quadrants of the Cartesian coordinate plane. In the Cartesian coordinate plane, here is the horizontal line is the x-axis and the vertical line is the y-axis. These two lines have a perpendicular line. That means they make a 90 degree between them. So the horizontal side, as I told you, it is x-axis, that is called abscissa, and the vertical line is called y-axis, it's called ordinate. Therefore the vertical line is ordinate and the horizontal line is abscissa. So from the positive x-axis we go to anti-clockwise. So from the positive x-axis we go to anti-clockwise. The first region, this region, the first region is called the first quadrant. Then the second region, it is called second quadrant, and the third one, third quadrant, and fourth quadrant. In the case of first quadrant, as you see here, from the origin to the right, it is a positive value, and from the origin to above, when you go to above, it is a positive value. Therefore both x and y are positive because the value of x and the value of y are positive. So in the case of quadrant 2, we have a negative x to the left. From the origin to the left is a negative value, and from the origin to the up, when you go to up, it have a positive value. Therefore in this region the value of x is negative and the value of y is positive. In the quadrant 3, both are negative. Therefore the value of x is negative and the value of y is also negative. In the quadrant 4, the value of x is positive and the value of y is negative. Therefore in the quadrant 4 we have positive x and negative y. So let me give you a simple example here. Take minus 3, 7. This number is put in quadrant, the value of x is negative, here the value of x is negative here, and the value of y is positive. Therefore this number or this point is here or lies on quadrant 2. This negative 3, 7 is lies on quadrant 2 because the value of x is negative and the value of y is positive. If it is both are negative, this point lies on quadrant 3 because the value of x and the value of y are negative. So When you come to the next concept, it's coordinate and straight line. Using these pointers, we can make a straight line because a line is a combination of pointers. So in the case of this, the first graph is the graph of an equation of the form x is equal to a. That a is different from 0. If it is 0, it's because the y-axis. So in the case of the graph of an equation of x is equal to a, that a is an element of a rational number and a is different from 0, is a line which is parallel to the y-axis, a line which is parallel to the y-axis, and it's at a distance of a unit. That means if the value of a is 2, we go 2 units to the positive direction. And if the value of a is minus 2, we go to 2 to the left of the y-axis. So the value of, if the value of a is greater than 0, then the line lies to the right of the y-axis. That means because the positive value is always to the right of the y-axis. Therefore, if the value of a is greater than 0, then the point here, the graph is a vertical line and which is parallel to y-axis and to the right of the y-axis. But if the value of x is negative, or if the value of a is less than 0, the value of a is negative. Therefore, if it is negative, you get the line is to the left of the y-axis. It's a vertical line which is parallel to the y-axis and the value is negative. The next concept is the graph of an equation of y is equal to b. In the case of y is equal to b, there is no x here, it's only y values. So the graph of an equation of y is equal to b is where b is different from 0. The graph or the line lies to parallel to the x-axis. If the value of b is greater than 0, you get the line above the x-axis because the positive value is above the x-axis. Therefore, it's a horizontal line which is parallel to the x-axis. But if the value of b is negative, that means the value of b is less than 0. If the value of b is less than 0, the line lies below the x-axis and which is parallel to the x-axis. What happens if the value of y is equal to 0? If the value of y is equal to 0 means there is no y on the x-axis. So the value of y is equal to 0 means a graph of an equation of x-axis itself. Okay, students. So the graph of an equation of y is equal to b is a line which is a horizontal line which is parallel to the x-axis. The next type of an equation is the graph of an equation of y is equal to mx. In this case, we have the definition of x1 and x2 have to be different. We will discuss on this why the value of x1 is different from x2. But the slope of the line through the point x1 and x2, y2. We have two different pointers. That means x1, y1 and x2, y2. To get the value of the slope is called this m. M is called a slope of the line. Therefore, to get the value of a slope, it is the change in y value over the change in x value. In the case of change in y value means y2 minus y1. That means the difference of y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That means the difference of x2 minus x1. So at the beginning of the definition, the value of x1 is different from x2 because if the value of x1 is equal to x2, the difference of the two will be 0. So in the case if it is 0, the denominator will be 0. Therefore, that case it doesn't exist if the denominator is 0. Therefore, the value of x1 have to be always different from x2. So, in the case of the slope of the line, the horizontal line has a slope of 0. That means the value of the graph of y is equal to b graph is have always a 0 slope. That means the value it is a horizontal line. But if the graph of x is equal to a graph, it is a vertical line. If it is a vertical line, the slope of vertical line is not defined or has no slope. Therefore, for any kinds of an equation x is equal to a, it does have a slope. But if the equation is y is equal to b, the slope of the line is 0. The other is y is equal to mx, the value of m is different. So, let's see the first example. In the first example, find the slope of the line that passing through the point minus 2, 2 and point 8, minus 4. In the case of solving, the point minus 2, 2, minus 4, 2 and 8, minus 4, here is, let's say the first one is x1, this one is y1. And the second coordinate, this one is x2 and this one is y2. Therefore, the value of x1 is minus 4 and the value of y1 is 2, the value of x2 is 8, the value of y2 is negative 4. So, in the case, the formula of slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's substitute the value of y1, y2 and x2, x1. In the case of substituting y2, it is minus 4 minus the value of y1 is 2. Therefore, minus 4 minus 2 over the value of x2 is 8 and the value of x1 is minus 4. Therefore, negative, negative, it will be a positive value. Therefore, negative 4, negative 2, it is negative 6. Then 8 plus 4 is 12. Then by 6, 1 by 6, 2. Therefore, the slope of the line will be negative 1 over 2. So, the next concept is all ordered pairs that satisfy each linear equation of the form y is equal to mx. In the graph of y is equal to mx that satisfy this formula, the line is always passing through the origin. Always the line is passing through the origin. The next concept, the equation of the line y is equal to mx, m is called the slope of the line. This m is called a slope of the line. Then if that slope is greater than 0, that means if you have a positive value, the line is passing through quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. And if the value of m or the slope is negative, the line is passing through quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. Let's see that. That means if the value of m or the value of the slope is greater than 0, the line is passing through quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. And if the value of the slope is less than 0, it's passing through quadrant 2 and quadrant 4, as you see this graph. And if it is y is equal to mx, it's always passing through the origin of the graph. So, using this, let's see the second example. The second example, it says, the point 3, 2 lies on the line ax plus 2y is equal to 10. Now, just find the value of a. Students, before I'm going to do this example, try it for 1 minute. Okay, I hope you tried good. So, in the case of the solution, the point is P is, this is x value and this is y value. Now, let's substitute in the equation ax plus 2y is equal to 10. The value of x is 3, the value of y is 2. Now, when we substitute that value, a times 3 plus 2 times 2 is equal to 10. Now, 3 times a, 3a plus 2 times 2 is 4 is equal to 10. Now, let's rearrange the expression. Now, 3a is equal to 10 minus 4. 10 minus 4 is equal to 6 divided by both sides 3. By 3 divided by 3. So 3 is cancelled by 3. Then the value of a is equal to 6 over 3. That is 2. Therefore, the value of a is 2. So, the last concept is the equation of the form y is equal to mx plus b. In the expression of y is equal to mx plus b, the line or the graph is not passing through the origin because of this b value. That is called the y-intercept. In the case of y is equal to mx plus b, m is called the slope of the line and b is called the y-intercept. So, using this, let's see an example. The example states the slope of the y-intercept of each linear equation. So, a, 6 times x plus y is equal to 3 times x minus y. So, to get the x-intercept and the slope, first we have to write in the form of y is equal to mx plus b. Now, let's multiply 6 by x plus y. So, 6 times x, 6x plus 6 times y, 6y is equal to 3 times x, 3x minus 3 times y, 3y. Now, let's collect the like terms. 3x minus 3x, that is 9x, and minus y minus 6y. Therefore, 6x minus 3x is 3x is equal to minus 3y minus 6y is minus 9y. Then let's divide it both sides by negative 9. So, negative 9 is cancelled by negative 9. Finally, y is equal to minus 1 over 3x. In this case, the slope is negative 3, but there is no b. Therefore, the value of b is 0. Therefore, the slope is negative 1 over 3, and the y-intercept is equal to 0. Let's see the final example and let's conclude all about chapter 3. So, the last example is 5x plus 10y is equal to minus 20 is equal to 0. So, let's write it in the form of y is equal to mx plus b. In the form of writing y is equal to mx plus b, the value of 10y is equal to, rearranging the expression, minus 5x plus 20. Now, let's divide it both sides by 10. If we divide by both sides 10, 10 is cancelled by 10. Then y is equal to by 5, 1, by 5, 2, and by 20, 2, by 20, by 10, 2. Therefore, y is equal to minus 1 over 2x plus 2. Therefore, the slope is negative 1 over 2, and the y-intercept is 2. So, the slope is minus 1 over 2. The y-intercept is 2. So, this is all about chapter 3. If you have any question on this, you can use Afriel's TV, or you can text using 8455, or using the social media ትምህርት በቤቴ. After this, you will have an exercise. Until the next class, see you.